Elliot, so what are the terms of the deal? As we went to break there, we found out the Sixers are nearing a deal for Buddy Hield, the guard from the Pacers.
Yeah, so Buddy Hield comes to Philadelphia from the Indiana Pacers. In exchange, the Sixers are sending Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round draft picks. So not a cheap deal. That is quite a bit to give up for a rental. Buddy Hield is in the final year of his contract, but a move that should help them both when Embiid is back and right now with Embiid out.
I agree with that. Look, this is not a deal that's going to move the needle to extreme level. It's also not one, like you said, Elliot, it's not cheap. It's not like they just gave up the expiring contracts. It was a swap there. They gave up 3 picks that could have been used down the line for something else. So this is a signal to me, Elliot, they're going to try. They're trying today. And
it accomplishes a few things. One thing you've heard a lot from the Sixers is the cap space plan. They want to have cap space this offseason. You talked about it in the first segment. It does not change that. Buddy is an expiring contract. I don't think you gave up enough where you have to re-sign him. You didn't give up any of the first-round picks. But he also is helpful. Again, a 39% shooter from 3 on almost 7 attempts a game. He can space the floor for Joel when he's back. But he's also somebody that's averaged close to 20 points a few seasons in his career. I think he helps Maxi in taking some of the scoring on the perimeter off of his plate. And I think he can be the ball handler if you need him to. So a good trade right now, but also keeps their flexibility open.
Hugh, what's your reaction? Buddy Hield for a couple expiring contracts and 3 second-round picks.
Didn't they just give Marcus Morris a key to the city?
The Sixers or the city?
The city.
Yeah.
The city.
He can take it with him. Come back
but
in the offseason.
can you use that? I'm more curious about can you actually use the key after you've been traded?
Key card don't work
in
anymore.
Indiana,
No, but I think they went out and they did what they could. Like, this is what we're weighing this against. Whether or not what we're going to get from Joel Embiid and how much are we factoring him in to this playoff run. And it's kind of hard to say with this move because this is not an all-in move. This is a good move, no question about it. But it wasn't. I don't think it was one that gets the fan base real excited.
No, it's a thread the needle move. It helps a little bit now. Certainly, I mean, he will help them in the short term. But like Elliot said, it doesn't impact the cap in the future. The picks. I mean, they gave 3 second-round picks. They could have been used in other deals, but those aren't huge picks there. 215-592-9494. We're going to get to Hugh's clues coming up in a few minutes. We have a prize to give away.
Giving
today.
Away prizes.
But Hugh, you brought up something interesting there about Joel Embiid. And the Sixers and their responsibility here to factor him into all of this, whether it be what they're getting for this year, what they're getting for the future, and how much should they? I mean, the guy's always hurt, but we know he's a great player, and he's, for now, this team's sun and the moon and the stars, right? He's
question about it. Everything revolves around Joel Embiid.
Should these moves today, should they think about Embiid when they do that?
I think so. I think it's important. I think because he is still the catalyst for this team. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because he's been off-hurt and all these playoff scenarios that we're talking about. But you still have to give him a chance, man. And I think that with the budding star that we have in Tyrese Maxey, you also have to worry about stunt his growth by not getting somebody to help him become a better player. It's a whole lot of stuff going on. It's so many irons in the fire when it comes to all of this. It's hard to just punt on the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, Elliot, we got more news.
So a player the Sixers have been rumored to be involved with, Kelly Olynyk. The Utah Jazz are trading him to the Toronto Raptors. So no Kelly Olynyk in Philadelphia.
All right, he would have been a similar kind of Buddy Hield, right? He's like a center Buddy Hield, a guy that's on an expiring.
Would have stretched the floor, yeah. But they had rumored to have interest in him. They're also rumored to be on Andre Drummond. So if Olynyk's not coming here, maybe Drummond becomes a possibility.
Drummond makes a lot of sense. He was here before. He can, they need another big guy. I mean, Hugh, that's obvious without Embiid. I mean, they're not going to find anyone that's like Embiid, but they just need a center because Paul Reed can only do so much.
Yeah, and you, excuse me, if you're trying to salvage this season when you got this tough stretch coming up, you're going to have to get some big guy in there that's going to help out somewhat, give you some kind of help.
Of course, and I think Drummond makes a lot of sense. So no Olynyk. All right, 215-592-9494. Your reaction to the Buddy Hield trade. And should the Sixers do more here at the deadline? Elliot, what's your perspective on the Embiid factor in all this? Because he hovers over everything, right? Like, he had the surgery. The news and the reporting is there's a chance he comes back, maybe a pretty good chance. We don't seem to think, they haven't reported he had the major surgery. So I think he's still got a real chance to come back. How much should Joel factor into what they do?
I don't think Joel should really factor into what they do. Joel is obviously the best player on the team. He's arguably the best player in the NBA. But he's not around enough. He's going to be out probably the rest of this regular season, if not the majority of it. He might not play in the playoffs. And the issue the Sixers have run into time and time again is they build a team around Joel, and then when the important games come in the playoffs, he's not around. Like, he's not there. So they're not used to playing without him. They don't have a roster that's set up to play without him. This is why I like a player like Murray. I'm not saying you go and build around Murray, but if you build around Maxi and Murray, and now you have Buddy Hield, and you become a guard-oriented team with shooting, that's something that can translate into the postseason. So when I'm making trades today, or when I'm making trades this offseason, Joel is no longer top of mind for me. It is about acquiring the best player and getting the best players you can to Philly, not worrying about building around somebody that, frankly, has not been here in the biggest moments.
Yeah, it's a thread the needle thing, Hugh. It's hard. I'm more with you on this, Hugh. I think that as long as he's here, as long as Joel is here, he has to be the centerpiece.
Yeah, he's the sun, the moon, and the stars. When you talk about how many games have they won since he's been gone?
Well, they're 4-12 without him.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where that's how our team is built right now. And I know that in order to make it better, we need that third guy, but we still need Joel Embiid in the mix, man, because he takes a lot of pressure off of everybody. And I'm also looking to try to make Tyrese Maxey grow as a player. I don't know how good he can be, but I think he can be really good if given opportunity.
Well, the Maxey element to this is, he over the next 6 weeks, Maxey's got to play really well. I don't think there's anything they do today that's going to change that element of it. But Maxey has to play really well to prove that he's as good as they might give him a max contract. They probably will, Elliot, this offseason. He's got to earn that the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, and he's been mostly a disaster without Joel. And forget the without Joel thing. There's been times where Joel hasn't had good games and Maxey hasn't been able to step up. Maxey has had good games this year. He is an all-star. Obviously, he's probably exceeded expectations to an extent this year. But if you're going to give him a max contract and he's going to be an actual all-star, then he's got to play like that when Joel is not here. What other number 2 in the NBA do we just excuse away failure when the number 1's not there? We wouldn't do this for Jaylen Brown. We wouldn't do this for Damian Lillard. Like, you don't do it for actual numbers 2. For number 2 guys, Maxey has been really bad without Joel, and that's a major concern.
You know what? That was the thing I was thinking about last night watching the game, and I know that there was rumors that he wasn't going to play because he was sick.
Yeah.
And then when he went out there, and, like everybody else, you think Jordan flu game. And I was thinking, like, well, everybody can't have one of those games. But the bottom line is this. When you got that all-star by your name, regardless if you're 19 or 28, you have to go out there and you have to play like an all-star. It's a cold world to be in, but that's the cold, honest truth about the situation. You have to play better.
Well, and the other part is maybe Maxey's actually a number 3 that's masquerading around as a 2 because we like him and he's an all-star. He doesn't look like a number 2 to me right now. He looks like a 3 that is being asked to be a 1, and that's what happens. Let's go to the phone lines here, and then we'll set you up for Hugh's Clues. Jackson is in Phoenixville. What's up, Jackson?
So you guys keep talking about trading Maxey, but yet he's like the fan favorite. He loves it here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, but Jackson, I don't know if anyone said those words, trade Maxey. We're just discussing Maxey's playing.
I don't recall saying that.
Pretty much, Elliott Short-Parks, 5 minutes ago before the break, said that they would trade Maxey.
I would definitely consider trading Maxey. Why wouldn't you?
We're waiting on you to retort, Jackson. The floor is yours.
Why would you trade the best asset you have besides Embiid?
Because he's the best asset you have besides Embiid. I'm not saying I would trade him for nothing, but if you're telling me, and I don't know where you fall on this, but if Joe and Hugh want to build around Embiid, and Maxey is showing that without Embiid he can't do it, and even with Embiid in the playoffs he has been shut down from the perimeter. Like, there is no proof Maxey, in my opinion, when it comes down to it, can be the number 1 guy on the perimeter. He's too small.
I'm not talking about the perimeter. The guy drives the net. So let me just.
He doesn't get to the free throw line a ton.
I just don't understand the concept. You have a homegrown talent in Max. You drafted him, and now you're going to go out and trade him? Look what happened with Mikal Bridges. I just don't understand. Like, you can't have it both ways. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
But Jackson, hold on. But Jackson, here's the problem. And I like Maxey. I think we all like Maxey.
Yeah, I like Maxey too. I'm not saying I would trade him for nothing, but we talk about trading Joel all the time.
Right. The issue I have, Jackson, with the Maxey situation is the timeline for Maxey's growth and Embiid's reality do not match up to me. Tyrese Maxey's probably going to, if he graduates to being a guy that you could win a title with as your number 2 guy, that's probably 2 or 3 years from now. And Joel, 2 or 3 years from now, might be cooked. Like, that's been my problem with this whole setup for the whole last year is they don't match. Like your stars,
Well,
they got them. They got a match.
Other assets that are not homegrown that you have a fan favorite who loves being here. And you know what? Here we go. You know, instead of arguing about it, why don't you bet me? Bet me how much you want to bet he's not going to get traded.
Well, I don't think any of us think he's going to get
traded.
traded.
In his whole
Bet me
career?
$100 or whatever.
Okay, well, what's the time? What's the
Exactly.
timeline
I think
here?
you kind of missed it.
I don't even care. Just bet me.
I think he's just mad.
So hold on.
I'll hang on.
Okay.
You can bet me.
All right. So the bet is that
Put your money where your mouth is. He's not going anywhere.
ever, or
I feel like he's
ever.
personal.
Hold on. You think he's going to play his entire career as a Sixer?
Yes, I do.
All right. I'll bet you $100 for charity. How many players in the
All
NBA ever play their entire career in one city? Like 1%?
Okay, let's say.
Yeah, you probably want to walk that one back, Jackson.
All-star career. Like Michael Jordan went to the
Wizards.
The Wizards.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that doesn't count.
All right.
Why don't
you know, R. Jackson, we'll figure this whole thing out. I'll bet you money for charity. Cool. Look, I don't think the premise today in at least our discussion was to trade Maxi, but Elliot brings up an interesting point, which is how Daryl Morey's got a lot of things he's trying to juggle here between this year, the future, Joel. But the Maxi thing is part of this because they have to pay him a max this summer. That's what he's going to want. He's made the All-Star team. He's probably going to get it.
And not trying to put words in ESP's mouth because he can do that for him damn self. But he said he would listen to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He never said he would trade. He said, but I think that if you're a GM of a professional sports team, if somebody calls with a trade offer, you can listen to it. Don't mean you can have to entertain it, but it's okay to listen to it.
Yeah, of course.